There is this weird psychological trap we all fall into when we decide it's finally time to get our lives together.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly where you're going with this.
Right? You go to the store and you buy a bunch of those expensive, perfectly matching organizational bins. You line them up on a shelf, and suddenly, you feel like your entire house is impeccably clean.
That dopamine hit is just so powerful. You feel this massive sense of accomplishment just looking at the empty plastic.
Exactly. Or, well, worse, you end up stuffing the exact same junk you had before into those new bins. You slide them onto a shelf and you pretend the underlying mess is solved just because it's hidden away.
The illusion of progress.
The illusion of progress, yes. We do this with our closets, and as it turns out, massive industrial corporations have been doing this exact same thing with their factory floors for 15 years.
And on a multi-billion-dollar scale, which
Yeah.
is wild.
Totally wild. But that is the core argument of this incredible document that you, our listener, sent in for us to unpack today. Whoever forwarded this to us, and you know who you are, gave us absolute gold.
It really is a fascinating find. I mean, what we are looking at is not a published article. It is a leaked draft press release from a company called EON AI Ventures.
And the date on the draft is exactly today, August 5, 2026.
Right. They are gearing up to announce this new market analysis white paper called Work Intelligence and the Connected Worker Market.
Which, on the surface, that sounds like a fairly standard, dry corporate announcement. But our mission today for this deep dive is to completely dissect this thing.
Because there's so much to unpack.
There really is. We are going to explore their massive claim about why a 15-year push for digital frontline workers has supposedly been a total failure.
Yeah, they really do not hold back on that.
No, they do not. And then we are going to decode the alternative they are pushing, this concept of work intelligence. But the absolute best part, the reason we are so excited to dive into this for you, is what is at the very bottom of the document.
Oh, the internal notes.
Yes. Whoever leaked this accidentally, or let's be real, maybe very purposefully, left the highly confidential, internal-only PR distribution notes attached to the bottom.
Which is incredibly rare to see. We are getting a completely unfiltered peek behind the enterprise software curtain. You get to see the raw machinery of how a tech company orchestrates a public narrative, well, before a single journalist ever sees it.
I cannot wait to get to those notes. But to understand the spin, we really first have to understand the problem EON claims they are solving.
Right. And like you said, they are coming out swinging.
They are throwing some serious shade at the current state of industrial frontline work. Right out of the gate, they argue that there has been this massive, well-funded wave of frontline digitization over the last 15 years.
Yeah, we were talking about the whole connected worker era.
Exactly. Platforms pushing digital work instructions, augmented reality remote assistance, apps for safety checklists, that whole thing.
And their market analysis makes a rather aggressive statement about that era. They claim that despite a decade and a half of massive venture capital investment and, enterprise spending, this entire wave completely failed to produce a single category-defining company.
Which just feels wild to say out loud. I mean, considering how much hype we have all seen around putting iPads and AR goggles on factory floors or, out on oil rigs.
It is a bold claim, but their core aha insight here is actually pretty brilliant. They argue that digitization made frontline work visible, but it didn't actually make the organizations any smarter.
Oh, right, because they just digitized the existing bad processes.
Exactly. Think about what usually happens. An organization rolls out tablets to their maintenance crew, and they digitize the paper checklist. But what EON found is that the actual highly valuable expert knowledge is still just being consumed over a random phone call when something breaks.
And then that knowledge is just lost into the ether.
Right. When a worker does fill out data on that tablet, it just gets fed into a dashboard that some middle manager looks at once a week. The data just dies in the dashboard.
It dies in the dashboard. It doesn't feed back into the system to organically improve the very next job on the floor.
Precisely. It is totally static.
It is the organizational bins on an industrial scale. It is like going out and buying an incredibly expensive state-of-the-art fitness tracker. You strap it to your wrist, you sync it to your phone, your heart rate is graphed out in beautiful high-resolution charts.
But you never actually change your workout routine.
Exactly. You keep eating donuts for breakfast. The data is on a glowing screen instead of notepad, but the body, or in this case, the massive industrial organization, isn't getting any healthier. You are just observing your own dysfunction in a higher resolution.
That is a great analogy. And EON introduces this three-layer maturity model that contextualizes that stagnation really well.
Okay, what are the layers?
So they define the first layer as paper. That is the baseline where, honestly, an astonishing amount of heavy industry still operates.
Sadly true.
Yeah. The second layer is digitization. And the third layer, which they argue is the true final destination, is intelligence.
And their big critique is that the entire connected worker market treated step 2 as the finish line.
Exactly. They treated the glass screen, the iPad, the smart glasses, as the goal itself rather than just a vehicle.
Oh, the screen was the whole point.
Yeah, they digitized the paper forms, but they failed to fundamentally change how human knowledge is captured, stored, and compounded.
But, okay, if digitization was just a half measure, what exactly does this third intelligence layer look like? Because, I mean, we hear the word intelligence thrown around constantly in tech right now.
We really do. But to understand what EON means by work intelligence, we have to look at what they identify as a massive, gaping blind spot in modern business infrastructure.
I actually want to pull a specific quote from the draft here from Dan Lajerskar. He's the founder and chairman of EON AI Ventures.
Let's hear it.
He says, every enterprise system records what the company plans, sells, and designs. None records how its work is actually performed, that knowledge lives in binders and in the heads of retiring experts.
That observation is the entire foundation of their argument. If you look at the massive software systems that currently run the global economy, you have ERP, right? Enterprise Resource Planning Systems.
Right, which handle all the financials, inventory, supply chain, all of that.
Exactly. And you have CRM, Customer Relationship Management, to track every single sales interaction. Plus PLM, Product Lifecycle Management, to track engineering, design, and CAD files.
And those are all multi-billion-dollar software categories.
Massive categories. But EON points out that these systems only track the theory of the business. They track the blueprints and the budgets.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, when it comes to the physical reality of how a complex centrifugal pump is actually repaired on an offshore rig in the middle of a storm.
Or how a temperamental packaging machine on a factory floor is calibrated by that one veteran technician who just knows its quirks.
Right. There is no system of record for that physical execution.
That system of record is just a 3-ring binder covered in grease stains sitting on a workbench somewhere. Or, worse, it is exclusively in the brain of a 60-year-old technician who is taking his pension and retiring in 6 months.
Exactly. So EON's proposition is that work intelligence becomes that missing fourth pillar. A system of records sitting right alongside your ERP and your CRM, specifically designed to capture physical work, measure it against a standard, and compound that knowledge across the entire workforce.
And they plan to pull this off with what they call the intelligence flywheel. Now, I do want to establish some credibility here for them. EON AI isn't just a couple of founders in a garage who slapped an AI label on a website yesterday, right?
No, not at all. The release notes they have a 25-year foundation in immersive learning technology, deployed across over 80 countries.
Yeah.
So they have very deep industrial roots.
Right. But I actually have to stop us here and push back on one specific claim they make in the draft because it sounds like absolute B2B marketing fantasy.
Okay, what's the claim?
They claim that because of what they call AI native economics, a completely paper-based manufacturing plant can climb all the way from layer 1 paper to layer 3 advanced intelligence in weeks, not years.
Ah, yes. The weeks, not years timeline.
Come on. We both know that enterprise digital transformation is agonizingly slow. I mean, it is endless change management meetings, quarter-long IT integration delays, workers fighting the new system tooth and nail.
It's usually a nightmare.
So is this weeks, not years timeline just aggressive hype to sell software? Or does the underlying technology actually support collapsing a 5-year transformation into a few weeks?
It is the critical question for this entire pitch, honestly. And to answer it, we really have to look at what frontier AI actually changes mechanically on the factory floor.
Okay, lay it out for me.
In the old model, the digitization model transformation took years because it was entirely reliant on human data entry. You had to convince a worker, who was likely wearing thick safety gloves, holding a wrench, and trying to hit a production quota, to stop what they were doing.
Right, wipe off their hands, pick up an iPad.
Exactly. And manually type in a description of the repair they just finished.
Which introduces massive friction. They hate doing it, they take shortcuts, the data ends up being bad, and adoption just completely stalls.
A friction is the killer. But what EON is arguing with this AI native economics idea is that frontier AI, specifically highly capable multimodal models that can process vision, audio, and text simultaneously, removes the human data entry bottleneck completely.
So it takes the worker out of the data entry loop?
Yes, it is no longer about forcing a worker to type data into a dashboard. The AI passively captures and structures the work as it happens in real time.
Wait, how does it passively capture it? Like, what is the actual mechanism there?
Through the devices they're already wearing or using, a
Mm.
camera on smart glasses sees the physical steps you are taking. A microphone hears you explaining the workaround you use to unjam the machine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The AI takes that messy, unstructured reality of a factory floor, translates it, and instantly organizes it into a clean, structured system of record.
So you completely bypass the change management nightmare. I mean, you don't have to train the worker to speak the software's language. The software is finally smart enough to just understand the worker.
Exactly. That shift in the technological heavy lifting from the human to the AI is why they are boldly claiming the timeline collapses from years to weeks.
Okay, I see the logic. But, a week's not years. Timeline still sounds impossible if they are just handing out more apps. To see if this is actually realistic, we need to examine the actual technology EON is launching in their Q3 2026 roadmap.
Right. Let's get into the actual products.
Yeah, because they break this intelligence flywheel down into 4 interconnected products.
And the architecture is quite elegant, honestly. First, you have Genesis, which handles the simulation and rehearsal of the physical work before you ever touch a machine.
Okay, so Genesis is basically the practice round.
Exactly. Then there is Field IQ, which provides guided execution and captures the data live in the field.
So if I'm understanding this, Genesis is the flight simulator where you practice, and Field IQ is the actual cockpit while you're flying the plane.
That is a great way to visualize it. Then comes the third product, Assess IQ, which objectively measures the demonstrated competence of the worker based on that field data.
So it grades you on how well you did.
Right. And finally, Compound IQ. This is the organizational learning loop that takes whatever new workaround or efficiency was discovered in the field and updates the baseline training for everyone else.
And the draft notes that all 4 of these are orchestrated by a system called EON Conductor and quality gated by something called EON Verdict.
EON Verdict is fascinating. It basically acts as an automated digital judge.
A digital judge. How so?
It uses computer vision and sensor data to verify the physical work against the engineering standard in real time. Like, did you tighten that specific bolt to the correct torque? Verdict confirms it automatically.
That is incredible. Let's ground this with the specific features rolling out in Q3 because this is where we see the actual mechanics. They highlight a feature called Paper Bridge.
Oh yeah, Paper Bridge.
The claim is that it uses AI to convert existing paper standard operating procedures, SOPs and massive PDF manuals, into digital step-by-step procedures in minutes. How is it actually doing that without a massive team of consultants?
Well, this is where large language models, or LLMs, really shine. In the past, you needed human consultants to read a 500-page technical manual and manually map out all the decision trees into software.
Which takes forever.
Exactly. Now, the LLM ingests the unstructured PDF, understands the semantic relationship between the text and the diagrams, and automatically generates the interactive digital workflow. It does in 3 minutes what used to take 3 months.
Wow. But I do love the pragmatic caveat they included in the draft. It says PaperBridge preserves audit-ready print packs as a fallback for quality and safety teams.
It is a brilliant olive branch to the old guard. You give the compliance managers this incredible digital magic, but you promise them they can still print out a physical binder if the Wi-Fi goes down on the rig.
You got to have a backup. Then we have expert capture. This is live remote assistance, but they've changed the fundamental physics of it. When a junior worker calls a senior expert for help, every single session is automatically transcribed, the video is analyzed, and the solution is structured into a searchable knowledge base.
Right, and their stated goal is that the same question is never asked twice.
Because the AI is mapping the context of the problem, not just recording a video. I actually have an analogy for this.
Go for it.
It is like having a master mechanic permanently looking over your shoulder. Normally, if I get stuck and ask the master mechanic a question, he answers it for me, and only I benefit from that interaction.
Exactly. It's a one-to-one transfer.
But with expert capture, when the master mechanic answers my question once, the AI memorizes the visual context of the broken part, the audio of the explanation, and the exact steps taken to fix it. It effectively clones that expert's brain for the entire company instantly.
It scales the expertise.
Yeah. The next time someone on a different shift gets stuck on that exact same part, they don't have to wake the expert up at 2 a.m. The system just prompts them with the solution.
And suddenly that terrifying problem of your veteran workforce retiring and taking all their institutional knowledge out the door, it's mitigated. The knowledge stays in the flywheel.
It is so smart. The third roadmap feature is compliance capture. This uses that EON verdict system to automatically log timestamps, photos, and e-signatures as the work naturally happens, making it audit-ready by default.
Again, we see the complete removal of friction. The act of doing the physical work simultaneously generates the compliance documentation.
The worker doesn't stop to document. The AI documents the execution.
Exactly.
And the final piece of the roadmap is enterprise connectors. They mention using MCP-based integration to connect with massive systems like SAP, Oracle, IBM Maximo, and MES in weeks, rather than quarter-long projects.
We should probably define those terms quickly. MES refers to manufacturing execution systems, the software that actually runs the factory floor machinery.
Got it.
And MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. It's an emerging standard that allows AI models to securely query databases and business tools.
So MCP is basically the universal translator between the new AI and the 20-year-old database.
Precisely. If work intelligence is going to be the missing system of record, it has to talk fluidly with the ERP and the MES.
Right.
If the AI can instantly bridge the gap between the messy, physical reality of the shop floor and the rigid, structured database of an SAP system without requiring custom-coded APIs, that is incredibly powerful.
Okay, so the technological vision is massive. The mechanics definitely make sense. But now we have to transition to the absolute most entertaining part of this source material.
Oh, this is the best part.
It really is, because you, our listener, didn't just hand us the polished public-facing vision. You handed us the raw, unedited draft with the internal remove before sending notes lingering at the bottom.
This section is a masterclass in enterprise PR. It strips away the visionary language and reveals the disciplined, calculated, and honestly sometimes ruthless machinery required to engineer a revolution.
So let's unpack these notes one by one. The first is an incredibly strict analyst naming policy. It orders the PR team, do not name any specific analyst firm in this release or the follow-ups.
Right.
They are only allowed to use the approved generic phrase, independent industry analysis. Why the secrecy there?
It is all about the control of leverage. Massive analyst firms, like Gartner or Forrester, they hold immense king-making power in enterprise software.
Oh, for sure.
By refusing to name them in their own published assets, EON is maintaining complete narrative control. They are essentially saying, we have the third-party validation to prove we are real, but we are absolutely not giving your firm free advertising on our press release.
Wow. It forces the media to focus entirely on EON's creation of the work intelligence category rather than validating the analysts.
Exactly. It's very calculated.
Next is a glaring warning about the attachments. It reads, PDF only. Do not attach the June 22 briefing deck. And the justification they give is incredible. It says the named vendor table in that deck reads as a competitive attack outside a sales context. I am completely fascinated by that phrase, competitive attack.
It perfectly highlights the stark dichotomy between public relations and bare-knuckle enterprise sales.
Yes. Because publicly, EO wants to appear objective, visionary, floating above the fray of petty software competition, simply ushering in this new paradigm of work intelligence.
But behind closed doors.
Right, in a procurement meeting with a Fortune 500 CIO. They are bringing a slide deck specifically engineered to systematically dismantle their named competitors feature by feature. They just don't want the tech press to see that deck because it shatters the visionary illusion.
It requires extreme discipline to keep those worlds separate. You don't want a journalist writing an article about a petty B2B software feud. You need them writing about the macroeconomic impact of AI on the workforce.
That makes a lot of sense. Then there is a strict non-negotiable rule on customer secrecy. It says, no customer references in the release. The account in final negotiation is never named under any circumstances.
That is survival rule number 1 in enterprise sales. Until the ink is completely dry, the contract is countersigned, and the first check has cleared the bank, you do not spook a massive enterprise client by using their logo to generate PR hype.
Never count your chickens. Then we get a section literally outlining their targeted spin. They break down exactly how they are going to pitch different angles of the same software to different journalists.
This was fascinating to read.
It really was. For the trade press publications like Industry Week or Manufacturing Dive, they explicitly push the frontline worker angle. But for the tech press places like VentureBeat or Information, they abandon the worker angle completely and pitch enterprise AI, focusing entirely on how AI native development collapses the feature velocity gap.
It is a sobering reminder that when we read the news, especially technology news, we are often consuming highly segmented, calculated messaging. PR teams know exactly which buzzwords trigger which publication's editorial board.
And finally, my absolute favorite note in the entire document, I call it the lead gen trap.
Oh, Richie?
Yes, Richie. The internal note explicitly reminds the team that the entire purpose of this visionary white paper, the press release, the beautiful landing page, all of it, is explicitly designed to gate the content behind a form.
Right, they want your data.
They want your name, your company, and your job title. Because, as the note says, this release doubles as a contact engine feeder for Richie's pipeline, complete with a specific tag for their CRM.
Richie, whoever he is about to have a very lucrative, very busy quarter hammering the phones.
He really is. But this internal note brilliantly connects the entire deep dive. It proves that building a category-defining company isn't just about having the smartest engineers or the most revolutionary multimodal AI.
No, it requires meticulous narrative control, strategic market timing, and a ruthlessly efficient lead generation machine.
The public vision is work intelligence and elevating the frontline worker. The behind-the-scenes reality is capturing CIO email addresses so Richie can sell them enterprise software licenses. It is deeply cynical, yet flawlessly executed.
That is the unforgiving reality of the enterprise market. I mean, you can invent the most revolutionary technology in human history, but if you don't have Richie's pipeline humming with qualified leads, your company will not survive the year.
It's so true. So let's pull all of these threads together. What have we actually learned from dissecting this incredible leaked draft from August 5, 2026?
Well, we've explored the compelling argument that a 15-year billion-dollar push for digital dashboards ultimately failed because it merely digitized bad processes without changing the underlying flow of knowledge.
Right.
And we've decoded EON's vision for work intelligence, this new system of record powered by frontier AI that bypasses the human data entry bottleneck to passively capture and compound expertise.
And thanks to those rare internal notes, we've witnessed the highly calculated, disciplined marketing machine required to convince the world that this new software category is real.
What you got here?
It is a massive conceptual shift. We are moving from passive data just dying in a dashboard to an active AI that watches you work, learns your secrets, and then coaches the next person.
And that transition leads to a rather profound implication. I want to leave you, our listener, with a final thought to mull over long after this deep dive ends.
Okay, what is it?
If EON's platform succeeds, if an AI can truly instantly capture, structure, and distribute the hard-earned expertise of a retiring workforce so that the same question is never asked twice, what happens to the intrinsic value of human experience?
Wow.
Think about it. If you're 30 years of intuitive knowledge, the literal muscle memory you've built over an entire career of turning wrenches and solving impossible problems becomes a company-owned algorithm in a matter of weeks, well, who truly owns the knowledge of how work is done?
That's a huge question.
When the AI clones the master mechanic's brain, are we elevating the human worker, or are we just efficiently extracting their final, most valuable asset before they leave?
That is a chilling and absolutely fascinating question to end on. Because suddenly, you aren't just buying organizational bins to feel better about your messy house.
No, you're not.
You're installing an intelligence that organizes your house for you, memorizes exactly how you like it, and then quietly realizes it might not actually need you to maintain it anymore.
Exactly.
Well, to our listener who provided this document, thank you. This peek into the impending future of industrial work, paired with the gritty reality of enterprise PR, was incredible. That wraps up this custom deep dive. Keep asking the big questions.